Hey guys, welcome back to my channel Dark Hollow. If this is your first time here, thanks for checking in, and if you are returning, thanks for coming back and enjoying another video. I really am going to try to get more on an uploading schedule, especially now that warmer weather is getting here. Maybe we can get in some of the paranormal investigations. But tonight I have something really creepy for you. I was reading a story the other day, and they had mentioned a haunted frozen Charlotte doll. Now, I had never heard of this, but apparently it's a real thing. They're like these little 1-inch dolls, and they're from the 1800s up until the early 1900s, and they were called penny dolls, but along the line they become associated and called a frozen Charlotte doll. Now, this is based on a poem that was written in the 1800s. But these little dolls, and people actually will still make them now, and you can buy newer ones. You can also find some of them, like some actual antique dolls on eBay, but you've got to be really careful, because I looked on there, and some of them that they're calling the frozen Charlotte dolls or the penny dolls are actually not what falls into the category of what's I've been led to believe are like actual dolls from that time period that fit into this particular category. But first made in Germany in the 1830s as a bath toy for children, the dolls were made from bisque porcelain, and they were unglazed, so they were able to float into the bathtub. However, once they came to America, they became associated with a macabre cautionary tale. The story of Frozen Charlotte originated February the 8th, 1840, in the New York Observer article describing the alleged true incident of a young woman who froze to death on her way to a New Year's Eve party. The article inspired the poem A Corpse Going to a Ball, credited to Seba Smith, and I think I'm pronouncing that right. The more well-known American folk ballad is Fair Charlotte or Young Charlotte, is based on this poem. Now, the ballad was actually written by a blind man who had heard the poem. I'll put a link down below in the description, or put it on here somewhere where you can actually go and listen to this one young lady singing the ballad, and she's really good. But I'm going to read you the original poem, A Corpse Going to a Ball. Young Charlotte lived by the mountainside, a wild and lonely spot, no dwelling there for 3 miles round except her father's cot. And yet on many a winter's eve young swains were gathered there, for her father kept a social board, and she was very fair. Her father loved to see her dressed as prim as a city belle, for she was all the child he had, and he loved his daughter well. 'Tis New Year's Eve, the sun is down, why looks her restless eye so long from the frosty window forth, as the merry sleighs go by? At the village inn 15 miles off is a merry ball tonight. The piercing air is cold as death, but her heart is warm and light, and brightly beams her laughing eye as a well-known voice she hears, and dashing up to the cottage door her Charlie's sleigh appears. "Now, daughter dear," her mother cried, "'tis blanket you round you fold, for 'tis a dreadful night ahead, you'll catch your death of cold." "Oh nay, fair Charlotte said, and she laughed like a gypsy queen. To ride with blankets muffled up, I never could be seen. My silken cloak is quite enough, you know 'tis lined throughout, and then I have a silken shawl to tie my neck about." Her bonnet and her gloves are on, she jumps into the sleigh, and swift they ride by the mountainside and over the hills away. There's life in the sound of the merry bells as over the hills they go, but a creaking wail the runners make as they bite the frozen snow. How long the bleak and lonely way, how keen the wind does blow, the stars did never shine so cold, how creaks the frozen snow. With muffled faces, silently 5 cold long miles they passed, and Charlie with these few frozen words the silence broke at last. "Such night as this I never saw, the reins I scarce can hold," and Charlotte shivering faintly said, "I am exceeding cold." He cracked his whip and urged his steed more swiftly than before, and now 5 other dreary miles in silence are passed o'er. "How fast," said Charles, "the freezing ice is gathering on my brow," but Charlotte said with feebler tone, "I am growing warmer now." And on they went through the lonely frosty air and the glittering cold starlight, and now at last the village inn and the ballroom are in sight. They reach the door, and Charles jumps out and holds his hand to her. Why sits she like a monument that hath no power to stir? He called her once, he called her twice, she answered not a word. He asked for her hand again, but still she never stirred. He took her hand in his, oh God, 'twas cold and hard as stone. He tore the mantle from her face, the cold stars on her shone. Then quickly to the lighted hall her voiceless form he bore. His Charlotte was a stiffened corpse, and words spoke nevermore. Now, if you go and scour newspapers from this time, because I know there was a mention that it was supposed to have taken, the incident was supposed to have taken place somewhere in Maine as well. But if you look in newspapers at the time and stuff, you will not find a report of a young lady dying in this manner. However, in the defense of anybody that says that it is a true story, at that time, news traveled so slowly, and not every death was reported to the newspaper. Especially if, as the poem says, if she lived far out in the mountains, apparently it was maybe an isolated settlement or township or something, and it wasn't reported, and the story was just carried by word of mouth. Who knows? Anyway, but the legend that the dolls are associated with this poem and with that story doesn't really hold up anyway. Newspaper advertisements and writings of that time demonstrate that Americans knew these small dolls as penny dolls because they were cheap would cost about a penny, which made them very popular with kids. But toy sellers never seem to have advertised these as Charlotte dolls. And in fact, nothing in the 19th and early 20th century publications support the belief that Americans ever made a connection between these figures and Charlotte. And like I said, even if you scour the newspapers from the time, you're not going to find that account of the girl dying that way. So, in fact, the so far earliest mention of a doll called Frozen Charlotte and couplings of the doll with the legends appeared in the American newspapers in the mid-1940s. And it was doll collectors and reporters writing about the dolls who called penny dolls by this name, sometimes also referring to the legend. So there you have, just a bit of folklore. And of course these little dolls, even though if you had some of the original dolls from the 1800s, yes, they would be, somewhat valuable because they're antiques, because they're rare. But also, if you attach a legend like this to the doll, or that it was made in the image of this girl or something, it's going to spark more interest in the dolls. Now, I have seen some pictures online of these little dolls that, and they've even put them in like little coffins and stuff to perpetuate this legend connection with the doll. But like I said before, these dolls originated in Germany as bath toys. They're also baked into cakes and things as like for good luck and different things like that. And I know that they have done studies and things like that about in the earliest 20th century, and it asked children that grew up with these dolls and stuff, and they had never associated them with this story or with death or with any kind of thing like that. So take it as you will. I think it's a myth that has just been perpetuated over time, and that so goes the urban legends and folklore. Like I said, as far as the true story of Charlotte, who knows? Maybe. I'm sure there have been many people, back in those days that did actually die of the cold, because maybe not because they didn't wrap up, but because travel between places was so far, and they didn't have heaters in the wagons and stuff. So, but I'm going to put the link to the song down in the description, and you all tell me what you think about these dolls and about the legend of their Charlotte or young Charlotte, and if you ever heard about these, or maybe if you have one of these. I am actually going to try to find one. I just think they're kind of cool. If you like this video and you like this kind of content, hit that like button. Please subscribe to my channel, guys. I'm really like to get this page going, and thank you to the subscribers I do have, and I will see you all in the comments. Bye.